This is Empowered by Iron podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Kristin Lander, a chiropractic physician, a sports nutritionist, and an elite powerlifter.
And I'm Mary Morton, PhD scientist, sports nutritionist, and weightlifter. This podcast is designed to cut through all the BS out there and teach you what you need to know to excel as a woman in strength sports.
Our topics include mindset and evidence-based training, nutrition, and recovery. No bro science, just facts with a hefty dose of practicality, reality, and some feels mixed in.
Hello everyone, welcome to today's episode. Today we are talking about H2O.
H2O cuts.
Water cuts. We've probably all heard people talk about them. We've probably maybe even done one ourselves, but we wanted to really dig into the science of water cuts and say, are they safe? First of all, that's the first question I think we ask. Are water cuts safe?
Yeah, and do they hinder your performance is the next, which is really important question.
Yeah, that's huge. If you're going to do it, why would you do it if you're going to perform worse?
Right. So we're going to dig into all of the science behind it.
And even though water cuts can be crazy, and you'll hear in the episode, we may not always love the idea of them, you may want to try them anyway. And we have what we call a sane approach to water cuts. And we're going to be offering a master course next Tuesday. It's going to be at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Presale for the master course is going to be up on our site between now and this coming Monday. Once that closes, it's over. You're going to have the live master course. Kristen's going to be there. I'll be behind the scenes. And you guys can ask questions, and she's going to walk you through her methods of water cutting for her athletes. It is the sane approach to water cuts. You're going to want to be there. You're going to want to save this course.
Yeah, because water cuts suck. Yeah. There's no way around it. Water loading and dehydrating is usually what a water cut is, and they suck really bad. I have a method that doesn't involve either of those things that works pretty damn effectively.
Damn.
Yes.
If that sounds like something you're interested in, our course is going to be linked below. Make sure you sign up before next Monday. And without any further ado, let's jump into today's episode.
Welcome back to this episode of Empowered by Iron. I'm Kristin.
And I am Mary.
What's up, Mary?
Nothing much. Just living the dream, really.
Living the dream, recording some podcast episodes.
Hell yeah. What are we talking about today, Kristin?
We're talking about water cutting. This is a really, really hot topic in strength sports, and a lot of people have asked us for our take on water cutting. Yep. So let's talk. Okay, so let's back up. What is water cutting? Because I know a lot of you have heard that term. You might not know exactly what it is. It's just a means of manipulating your body's hydration levels to make weight for a meet. That's
Simple.
what it is. So a lot of times people will lose up to 5% of their body weight, either in the week leading up to weigh-ins or right before weigh-ins.
Yeah.
Extreme cases, people will lose 10 to 12% of their body weight. That's a really, really, really extreme case. In my experience, personally, and for my athletes, I think that 5% even feels pretty extreme.
Mm-hmm.
I believe I water cut for a meet, and I believe that it was 4.5%, maybe 4%. I will never do that again. It was awful. It was horrible. I just don't recommend it for the majority of athletes. And I have methods of doing this for myself and for my athletes that are a lot easier on your body and is just manipulating very carefully your carbohydrates the week of a meet.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't work if you're following a low carbohydrate diet, but
you can't have anything to manipulate.
Right.
So you have nothing.
Right. There are a lot easier ways to do this. So before we get into all of this, just know that I think that any means of dehydration is extreme.
Fair enough.
The most common methods that people use, usually there's some element of water loading, which is like drinking increasing amounts of water for several days. And then it oftentimes ends with like 2 or more gallons on the last day, depending on your body weight, that's a lot of water to drink on the last day, and then followed by restricting water for a day.
Yeah.
So it's water loading and then water restricting, so you can do a combination of these things, passive dehydration, such as like a sauna or a hot bath. So water cut is for a lot of people like a water load, water restriction, and passive dehydration.
Yeah. And you have to think of your body as a bottle of Gatorade, right? Inside that bottle of Gatorade are different factors that let that bottle of Gatorade be Gatorade, right? And in our body, we have electrolytes, right? Just like in Gatorade, Gatorade has sugar, it has the dye, it has electrolytes. And if you take pure water and you add it to the Gatorade, what's going to happen? It's diluted. And then if you keep adding water to that Gatorade, it's going to become so diluted that the electrolyte balance will be completely off or gone. And then if we're thinking of this in terms of water cutting, so now you've loaded your Gatorade bottle body with water, diluted all your electrolytes, and then you just completely take away any type of liquid coming in your body. And that's not allowing your body to replenish, or that Gatorade bottle to replenish the Gatorade, the electrolytes, the sugars. Yep. So now your body's completely out of balance, and probably jumping ahead here, but you're kind of screwed.
Yeah. Well, so that's the thing is that I think that most scientists can agree. Like, yeah, dehydration increases the risk of skeletal muscle cramps and heat exhaustion, heat stroke, acute renal failure. That's a big one.
A big one.
And death.
Renal meaning?
Renal kidney failure.
Yeah.
Yep. Right. So that's just dehydration, but the water loading part is actually more dangerous.
Which was crazy to me to learn.
Yeah, it's because you're diluting these electrolytes that are super important in your body.
Yeah.
They're very, very, very important. It's a very delicate balance.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you dilute that can make you really, 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 really sick.
Yeah.
So water cutting does not come without health risks. Water loading, dehydration, all of that. It's risky. It really is. We're going to get into the performance, what the research says about the performance in a minute, but just know that health-wise, this is stupid.
Yeah.
It is not smart. In fact, the NCAA, which if you're not in the US, this is our association for college sports.
Mm-hmm.
They govern all of our college sports. They no longer allow for any form of dehydration in their sports. And that's because they had 3 wrestlers die from sitting in saunas trying to lose, on average, these 3 wrestlers, they were trying to lose like 7.5 kilos, which was around 10 to 11% of their body weight.
Yeah, which for you people who are in pounds, that's 15 pounds or more. Like,
yeah,
that's a significant amount of weight. And they're also sitting in the heat. I don't know if you've sat in a sauna, Kristen. I'm sure you have.
I love saunas.
But you can only tolerate it for so long.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
about the time I start sweating is about the time
I'm
I
done.
want to get out.
And so these guys were just sitting there losing 10% of their body in sweat.
Yeah. Yep. So I just want to put this out there that if you are going to use any passive methods of dehydration, so sauna or hot baths, you need to have somebody present with you. You can pass out. It happens to people. If you pass out in the bathtub, you're going to drown. If you pass out in a sauna and someone's not there, your body's going to continue to dehydrate in that heat. It's can be really dangerous. So regardless of what the research says on performance, this is not safe. It is not a safe thing to do. I don't think that it is smart. If lifting is not your career, don't do it.
Yeah.
If lifting is your career, so I was thinking about this and I was like, okay, I think that all of us at some point in our life will do something that is detrimental to our health for a benefit of our career, right?
Yeah.
You lose sleep. You lose time with your family. You maybe forget to eat because you're so busy. Like, we all do things for our jobs that can be detrimental to our health. So if lifting is your job and your career, okay, if you want to do this, okay, just be really smart about it. If it's not your career, please don't do this.
Don't do it.
Okay.
So what does the research say on performance now that we've got that, the health risks and what it is out of the way?
Yeah. So I looked up a bunch of studies. So I'm going to cite to you guys some of the, results.
The findings.
The findings. Golly, that was a hard word to get out. Yeah. Okay. So we found, one, that partial rehydration recovers upper and lower body neuromuscular performance in a severely hypohydrated participant. So that's dehydrated. So partial rehydration does, is not, if you dehydrate and then you even get partially rehydrated, you should be able to recover your strength.
Yeah.
Passive dehydration resulting in approximately a 1.5% loss of body mass, which is not very much. It does adversely affect bench press 1 rep max performance immediately following. But those adverse effects of dehydration are overcome by a 2-hour rest period and water consumption. So resting and partially rehydrating, you're able to overcome a 1.5% loss of body mass.
That's pretty good.
It is. It's pretty good. I mean, and it's funny to me because 1.5% loss is pretty minimal.
Yeah.
And there are a lot easier ways to do that than passive dehydration. Just FYI. There's a lot easier ways than sitting in a sauna to lose 1.5% of your body weight. But at any rate, what do I know? So another study showed that dehydration levels up to 5% loss in body mass had no effect on anaerobic capabilities or muscle strength. So that was the research is stating that the strength can be maintained after a loss of 5% body weight as long as the weight is gained back before competing. So you've got to gain back the weight and obviously the water.
Yeah.
And one thing I thought that it was really interesting in this study that they said that 5% body weight loss seems to be the limit in the research because there's an increase in health concerns with anything over that. So they're probably not going to do research that's going to put you at an even greater risk.
Right, because they don't want their study participants dropping dead.
To die. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, maybe some liability there.
A little bit.
And then the last little bit of research that I found that was really interesting was somebody's master's thesis. He researched if how dehydration would affect weightlifting performance, specifically snatch and clean and jerk, and found that a dehydration of 2 to 4% of body weight decreased maximum bar height before the catch in a snatch.
So how high they could pull it, essentially.
How high they could pull the bar, which we know if you're an Olympic weightlifter, you know that to an extent, like if you can't pull the bar as high, you have to be faster under it.
Yeah, it's all about that speed or that height.
Yes. So you either have to pull it high and you can be a little slower or not pull it as high and be really fast to the bottom.
Yeah.
So it decreased the maximum bar height.
Yes.
Just a 2 to 4% body weight reduction.
If you're not a polar and you're a diver, you got to get in there quicker.
Yes.
Well, I find all this very interesting because obviously the body is its own magical unicorn, right? It wants to maintain homeostasis or this level of balance at all costs. And it wants, if you're dehydrating, what it's doing is it's trying to protect everything in your body while you're dehydrating because as far as your body knows, you're going through the desert and you're going to die. Like you don't have a water source. And so it's trying to hold on to everything that you have while you're dehydrated so that when you do find water, when you get out of the desert, you can go back to your life as it was before and your body can kind of kindle that homeostasis.
Yes, absolutely. So it puts a really big strain on your body.
It's a huge strain. You're taking your body from happy to like extremely miserable.
Right.
In a matter of
days.
days.
Then you want it to turn around and perform the best you've ever performed.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of like what we talked about in other episodes. I mean, this is like our one of our main points. Like, you have to take care of your body to keep up the longevity in the sport, and you have to be kind to your body in all these processes. If you can compete in the weight class up and not have to worry about cutting 5 to 10% of your body weight, which we do not recommend, do that. Just lift up. Who cares?
Right. Especially if it's just a local meet, and it doesn't really matter. I mean, I know that like there's this long history of like really elite lifters, the best of the best, like cutting massive amounts of weights. I get it. Like, I understand why, that because they're the best of the best and they're competing against the best of the best. And that is a totally different thing than 99% of the lifters on this planet.
Yeah, we're not talking about them.
Right. Right.
I mean, we are flattered if you guys are listening to this podcast and you are the best of the best. We love it, but we're talking to people like Kristin and I.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't do a water cut. Kristin did do a water cut and regretted it.
I did a water cut because if you guys listened to the Mastering Mindset episode last year, you know, I talked quite a bit about this, that I was in the middle of my weight class. It was potentially going to be advantageous for me to lift in the lower weight class for international level meets. And so I did a combination of a weight cut and a water cut.
Yeah.
And I really don't feel like the water cut affected my performance. We're going to get into 2-hour versus 24-hour weigh-ins in a minute. I had a 24-hour weigh-in. I really don't feel like that was an issue for me. But I was miserable. It was awful. So I'll just walk you through what I did. I did a water load. I also reduced calories. I reduced carbohydrates. And then I cut off water.
Whew.
And then the night before weigh-ins, my body weight was still really high. And so I needed to so there's something called float weight, which is the amount of weight basically you gain or lose throughout a day. So it's the difference between your nighttime weight and your morning weight. So I knew about how much weight I usually lost overnight. So I had to at least get within range before I went to bed, which means I sat in a hot bath.
Ugh.
That night. I'm already dehydrated, right? Like, I've already cut off all my water. I have barely ate any carbohydrates that day. And I had to do like 5 or 6 rounds in a hot bath to lose a couple of pounds. I can't remember anymore how much it was that I had to lose before I went to bed. I got there. I did it. It wasn't fun. But the worst part was I went to bed and I couldn't sleep. I had the worst muscle cramps I had ever had. Mind you, I was still over, right? Like, I was relying on my float weight to bring me back down the rest of the way. So I'm laying in bed. I have muscle cramps. I'm so severely dehydrated. All I could think about was drinking water. Like, those of you that drink, have you ever been like a night out drinking and having fun, and like maybe you drank like a lot and you go home, you go to bed, whatever, and then you wake up in the middle of the night and you're like dreaming, or probably like the middle of the morning, and you're like dreaming about water, and all you can think about is like, oh my gosh, I need to drink water. That's what it felt like all night long.
Whew.
And I woke up the next morning and I was still over. Mind you, I was only trying to lose 4 pounds. This is 4 pounds I was trying to lose.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It wasn't extreme. Well, it's not extreme. I don't think it's extreme at all. It was 4 pounds.
Yeah.
Like, there are people that lose 10, 15 pounds this way. So I mean, I'm following with so I was losing less than 5% of my body weight is what I was relying on for the water cut. This is where I say, like, science doesn't sometimes match up with real life. Like, yeah, you can do it, but the research doesn't tell you how horrible you're going to feel. It leaves that part out.
Yeah.
So I still had to drive 90 minutes to weigh-ins. I'm still overweight. And so then I relied on sucking on sour candy and spitting in a bottle the entire 90-minute drive, which also I drove myself in a very dehydrated state. Probably not smart.
Not good.
That was my only option at the time. So that's what I did. And I made weight, but I was like, well, I'm never doing this again.
Yeah.
I don't feel like it affected my performance. But so the one thing that the research does show is that the average person can regain about 2% of their body weight lost in water in a 2-hour period. So 2%. So if you have a 2-hour weigh-in, in theory, you can regain 2% of your body weight. The research also shows us that most people can lift without their performance affected in about a 1% dehydrated state.
Yeah.
Which means if you have a 2-hour weigh-in, most competitors can probably do fine cutting 3% of their body weight and not have it affect your performance. This is why I don't think that it affected my performance.
Yeah.
I had a 24-hour weigh-in,
Yeah.
a 2-hour weigh-in, and I think I lost like 4%. So it's not necessarily going to have a really big impact on your performance.
Right.
If you do it smart.
Mm-hmm.
It may have a really big impact on how you feel. It puts a lot of mental stress on you. I think that was the biggest thing for me, is that I was really stressed out about it. And I would like to just say that I said in the beginning that I have methods of doing this that I think are a lot easier and a lot better, that would have given me that 4% without feeling like
right. But you'd
death.
never done it before.
I had never done it before.
And this was an experiment, and you tried it and you didn't like it.
Right.
And you're going to stick with the way that if you have clients that do it, you're
Right.
going to stick to your methods.
Right. So and that's what I feel like, is that, okay, if you've got to do it for performance reasons, like if you're the top of the top, okay, fine.
power to you.
You can do it. And we know that people perform pretty well.
Yep.
But there are health risks.
There are health risks, but I like how you said that with the job. You're not going to really do anything extraordinary in a job without taking some type of health risk. Shouldn't be like huge, like you may lose your leg or anything, but you're going to have to make some sacrifices. But if you're a recreational lifter, if you're not doing national level meets or international level meets, take a chill pill. You don't need to do this on your body. Take care of your body, feed your body, and just lift where you sit.
Yep. I think that's the thing too, is that I did this actually for a local meet to see how it would affect me for an international level meet.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we decided. Like, well, let's just do it for this meet. I was going to qualify for Worlds regardless. So let's just do it. Let's see. I mean, unless I bombed out.
Right.
So let's do it and see, because if it goes well, then I'll lift down. If it doesn't go well, I'll lift up.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I decided to lift up for other reasons. Thank God, because I never want to do a water cut ever again.
Never
it was
again.
not. I mean, if it's what I have to do, okay, fine, I'll do it. But
hopefully you don't have to do that again.
I don't recommend it.
No.
It was I felt terrible. And I know a lot of you guys listening, if you've done it and you didn't think it was that bad, more power to you. But I'm telling you, my body does not like being dehydrated.
No. But with that, I think that's it. If you guys aren't already, make sure you're following us on Instagram, Female Strength Academy, and at Empowered by Iron. We're on both places. If you have anything that you want us to do an episode on, just shoot us a DM. We're hanging out in the DMs. Okay?
All right.
Bye, ladies.
Bye.